Hello everyone, welcome back. And if you're joining us for the first time, then welcome. And my name is Priyanka. I am a UX researcher and trainer at UX Experts, and we have Mr. Tushar Deshmukh with us, who's provided us with this platform, and who is a founder of UX Expert, and he's director at UX UI training lab. So he's going to be with us today and he's going to moderate the session today. And I would like to introduce our second speaker today, managing partner of Arimaya Ventures, Ketaki Khamkar Deshmukh. Um,
Thank you so much.
she describes herself as hardcore business operations individual at a heart of with an entrepreneurship attitude of ownership and responsibility. She has a special liking for human resource, or she likes to call it as human relations and finance. Bringing the balance and focus on the strategy and planning, aligning with the internal stakeholders is something that keeps her on the top. Her expertise are in the field of people management, human relations, financial operations management, sales operations management with setting up process and policies, and strategies planning. Today, she is going to talk to us about how to be more conscious at work. Welcome, Ketki.
Thank you so much.
Now, I would request Tushar sir to begin the session, please.
Sure. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you. Good morning and welcome for today's session. Before we start our interactions, just I would like to add a couple of points because yes, this is definitely people are coming from a design background. Uh, but as your domain is like from management and plus you are from recruitment side also, so whether it is a designer or whether it is any IT sector, right? So I always believe there should be a uh, every designer goes through their in career in different roles, whether starting from as a workforce to they move up to team leader, then become managers, and maybe some designers reach up to a C level also. But today's topic is specially for that aspect we can talk, because every time as a designer, I believe these professionals not only they work as an employee, but they also end of the career they become they want to become freelancer, they want to become a consultant. There are a lot of
Right.
career aspects they want, and today purposefully I invite you for this reason because your
Absolutely.
experience and that will help designers and many maybe upcoming talents, what they are looking at the manager levels, plus what management is expected from
Right.
design, because
Right.
we heard about a lot of terms in recruitment like KRAs, KPIs, but there's always some kind of we have a kind of a barrier between employees and management side. So I can, as per
Right.
my experience, I was at that side of a table very quite long, but last 8 or 9 years I am in this side of a table. So things are changed, right? The aspects are changed.
Right.
So, so to begin with, you can introduce, I can share your journey. You have huge experience from from startups to IT companies. Even you have worked
Sure.
with design studios also.
Right.
So you can
Right.
start with this, then we can move ahead on our interactions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Tushar and Priyanka, for having me today. And it's a good opportunity for me to put across all the points that Tushar just mentioned, and how things are changing. This is the right time because things were different just a few months back, and things have changed drastically right now. So thank you for this opportunity and a very warm welcome to all the participants. I'm very happy to see all the participants here. So let's talk about my journey, right? My topic for today: how to be more conscious at work. Why do I even talk about it? I talk very passionately about this. So my journey started when I was about 16 years of age. Way back in '97. Which is not to give out my age, but still. My journey starts then when I was pursuing my undergraduation in Bachelor's of Commerce, and I come from a business family, so I wanted to apply the knowledge that I was learning at college. I mean, debit credit is fine in textbooks, but what do I do with it in real life is something that I wanted to explore more, and that's how I actually joined a family business to know the applications of the entire business, the entire business ecosystem, and the what I was learning as well. Well, I say my journey started there because that's where I observed my father. He's into industrial construction. So that's when we had a 150 people team, and that was the time when I actually saw that despite everything, he was an extremely humble person. I never saw him shouting at anyone. There was a mutual respect. We talk a lot about creating a safe environment for our people, and that is what was created there. And that is where I thought it's not about me being an owner of something, or me telling people that I dominate this. It's a mutual respect that we have to show to each other. And that's where I also understood I can relate to people, I can connect to people, people can connect to me. So this connection, establishing this connection inside an organization becomes extremely important for any organization, and it doesn't matter what the size of this organization is. So that's where it actually started. Few years down the line in 2008, we actually came up with our own startup. It was called Mobicon. It was a customer engagement and marketing platform for the F&B industry. Of course, we were early that time, to offer what we were offering in the market. But that's where my second phase of this topic came, because that was the time we were building teams. That was the time we were having people come to our startup. What is it that we offered? How did we take ahead in terms of making ensuring people that they reach their utmost productivity, and creating a conducive environment where people can do so freely. So that is how my journey has been so far, and that is where this love for this topic comes,
Right.
being conscious at work, because that's where I get to apply all my human traits, right? And when I say my human traits, it's basically compassion, sympathy, empathy, self-regulation, whatever we talk about from an emotional quotient perspective. And that's a huge research by Daniel Goleman as well, right? Emotional quotient is spoken of big times in bigger organizations also, and that's where it started for me, honestly speaking.
So, so what does, from your perspective, this conscious means, and uh, so why we need this conscious to be applied in the
Right,
day-to-day work and that.
right, right. See, every organization that we work for, or every person who joins our organization, there is some give and take, right? We are not doing charity. Nobody is doing charity to each other, neither the organization nor the person. So it's very important when I join some organization, I am aware of myself. When I say I'm aware of myself, I need to know my patterns. I need to be aware of my own productivity. I need to be aware of the work and deliverables that are expected from me from this particular role. Now, that will only come when I have that kind of awareness inside me, right? So, for example, if I have to come up with that kind of clarity of what is expected, I need to have that clarity of thought in the first place, right? So when I say we need to be more conscious at work, or why is it important for me, it's extremely important that I know where my patterns, my behavior patterns are coming from. We all grow up in different environments. There are a lot of things that we go through. It could be the social, it could be the religious, it could be the economics or educational, right? So each one of us is coming from a different background. how have those background, and right, we are all grown up when we're joining an organization to even think about all these things. So what is that pattern? How have I developed from that? What is it that probably might tick me or irritate me? This is extremely important when I'm trying to work somewhere, because otherwise, if I don't know this, I will not know how I'm going to translate everything into my productivity, because I might be the best, but something ticks me off and everything's gone. So ensuring that you're not scattered anywhere, and that's where I say you have to be more conscious. When Let me give you an example to make this more clear. Let's talk about the pre-COVID times, right? There used to be a time when I get up from my house, and I go somewhere and I work. Now, in between that commute, there could be traffic. I could have fought with two people on the way, or three people could have fought with me because of the traffic. Anyways, we are in Pune, we know how the traffic is here. So, from that, I'm carrying that in my mind. So, it's very important when I'm starting my day to say that, okay, I'm sitting and I start my day and I have to work, and I have to work on these things, and I'm prioritizing. I have to be in the right frame of mind to do that,
Right.
right? So it's very important that I take my time to come into the present moment and start my day and not be scattered everywhere else. That's exactly what I mean by being conscious at work, by being, by ensuring I am there. I am 100% available for the task at hand that I'm going to carry out in the day to day. That's what it means.
Uh, so now see, we always talk about ownership of a work, and many times even management people are very concerned about their employees, specifically designers, because they work freelancer, they work as a consultant. So, what do you think about how to get there to become a cautious work as a
Right,
work culture itself,
right.
and what steps should they follow, and
Hmm.
know, how to being there with that during, because you yourself has seen what is corporate work cultures are there, and many
Right.
times designers will be sit for their appraisals and we sit for that. So many times we as a many times we ask them, you are not giving us as 100%.
Hmm.
So what do you think? What are the steps should they follow,
Right.
and what is your
Yeah.
views
Yeah.
on that?
Yeah. Yeah. So, before I answer that question, I would also like to touch down upon the point that we are in an we are in an attention deficit economy, right? What that really means is, because of so much of social media or so many platforms, our attention is divided into multiple things. Now, of course, with we all working from home, it's all the more because there is no real demarcation of home and work as such, right?
Right.
But let's say, for example, I'm sitting here in front of you and I'm talking to all of you, and suddenly there is a message popping up on my phone, or there is an email notification that I'm getting, or there is a chat, and that is the kind of world we are in. We can't help with that, right? So this study has actually proven percent of the times is only when we are actually focused on the task at hand, which means more than 50% of the times we are just at hand. So this is the kind of economy, this is the kind of world that we have already entered. Now, using our self-regulation, practice self-regulation to ensure that I am giving my 100% to the work, and my attention is not everywhere. Right now, coming to the fact that what does the management expect from me really? Like I said, right, we are not doing charity to each other. So I am working for a particular number of hours, out of which I am getting compensated for the services that I am given. Now, how does the management know that you're taking ownership? Now, let's say we are talking to a team of designers here, and by that, I also feel one deviation. I follow this person called Greg Braden a lot. He talks about human by design. So, as an individual also, we are designed in such a way that we can achieve so much more. I mean, design technically for you is different, but otherwise we are all humans by design. Purposefully, there are some things that have been embedded into us, right? So, If you're talking about designers here particularly, and there is a task that has been assigned to me by my manager, now am I doing that mindlessly? Right, I've been asked to design the screens. Maybe it could be a UI, it could be the flow, it could be the the wireframes, whatever it is. I've been asked to design something. Now what is it, how am I even coming up with this design, right? Am I really looking at the at the competitive analysis? Am I looking at the market when I'm talking about this particular product? Do I know my audience? Do I know who's going to use this? Do I have enough information on the color palette that could be used, because colors have a huge impact on our on our emotions, our psyche, everything. Am I doing my study right? When I'm asked to do a task, am I just doing a task because my manager has asked me to do it, or I'm actually putting my mind into that task, and I'm actually trying to come up with something that is more meaningful, it can be applied. See, this is a very simple expectation from the management, that if I am giving you a task or you are giving me a task, you apply your mind, don't do it mindlessly. That's the biggest thing, I would say. That's the biggest thing that any management expects. And when we say take ownership, it absolutely means this. Now let's say, for example, there is a I call it human relations, but let's say there are HRs, right, in the on this platform. Now what is the real job of an HR? It's not really to hire people, fire people, or run the payroll, or all this. My real job as a human person, as a human representative in the company, is to know the pulse of my company. How are the people doing? Performance wise, how are they doing? Are there any issues that they are complaining of? Can we help them as an organization to overcome these issues? How do we keep each other more engaged? These are very basic things. Honestly, it's all about common sense. But what has happened in the longer run is that we are only doing tasks as tasks. We are not applying our mind into the job that actually demands me to put my awareness, sensitivity, everything, my common sense into the task at hand. So management is only expecting that. Of course, when I say management, we're talking about human beings. Every human being comes from a different background, and it's up to that manager, that leadership team, on how they're handling this with their team, or
Right.
so that are different, those are different, I would say, examples. But yeah, that's essentially what management expects, and that is what management means when they say take ownership of your job at hand.
Right. Now coming back to one, considering today's what happening around us is during this COVID time. Now all working hours are straight, and being woman, as a woman employee, there will be lot of on stake somewhere at some point, and they have to manage work. And as a designer, I can imagine, I have to sit 8 hours, 9 hours to complete just one mockup or one wireframe, or maybe I have to take call from home. Uh, so during this COVID time, with respect to just regards to the woman, as a what you think, what they, because now things are like, there are a lot of, now some situation is not great at workplace. So, and now today's season, what we think that, we should, as a designer or as an employee, we can take forward, because I know this time is not for longer time. We are hoping it should be get very fast to be at a normalcy, but still today we have to face this problem. So you can
Right,
advise for
right,
as a woman resources, and that what you think
right,
on that.
right. So I'll come to the woman part a little later in my answer, but I feel, Tushar, this is a great opportunity for all of us to really apply. There are a lot of times that we're looking at the opportunity from a negative perspective. Right now, what has happened? The problem is there is no demarcation of my home and workspace, right? And that's
Right.
exactly the problem that everybody is facing. So, for example, I am sitting on my bed with my laptop. Probably I've not changed my clothes because nobody is going to see me, and I start my day. So there is no clear demarcation. My brain is not getting the signal that I have started to work. My brain is getting the signal I am at ease, I am at home, I am just doing this because I have to show that I am present here. But honestly, if you ask me, turn it around. You have a clear demarcation of this is my workplace, and after this workplace, when I enter outside or when I enter inside or when I'm outside this workspace, I'm out of my work. This is my home, right? There's a lot of intermixing because we have a lot of responsibilities at home. There are so many people with kids, with senior citizens, and there are so many expectations because now people see us at home, right? So they feel that, Arey, you are at home, then why can't you do this? So that's an added pressure. I would honestly advise people to change that outlook. Get up in the morning, get your routine cleared, wear your work clothes and go to the spot that you call it your workplace. That's how you're sending a signal to your brain that I am working right now. It's flexible. Make use of this flexibility right now, right? So, in fact, now coming to the mother's side or women's side, one is women have added responsibility in the house. I mean, how much ever we try to cover that up, we do have added responsibility. Mothers have all the more responsibility at home. But can we teach our kids to older kids, of course toddlers and all will not understand that, that's a separate situation that has to be dealt situation to situation. But can I then try and educate my kids, okay, listen, you have to start respecting that this is my workspace, I have to work, and you have to this is kind of our Lakshman Rekha here, and I will be outside in a few hours or a few whatever it is, and I will come and tend to you in that period. But right now you have to respect the fact that I have something else to do. Now with this, what happens is a woman also is able to calm herself down. I'm a mother, I have two kids, I have two teenagers now, thankfully, but I know how this works, so I'm talking from experience. So the woman has to set her limit, even a man has to set that kind of a limit and say, okay, now I am working, I have to clear my mind, I have to get the clarity of thought, only then I'm going to be able to work. And in fact, from a women's perspective, I think it's a golden opportunity to be with your kids at home and also do what you like. And it's very important that you're working on something that you like. And as designers, I'm assuming that people are in designing because that's what they're passionate about. That's what they really like doing, right? Even developers, technical people, that's what they like creating. So it's important that we actually have that kind of demarcation marked, and then we start our day. And in fact, I would also suggest, let's say for example, we were used to getting up at 6:30 in the morning and then going to office at, let's say, 9:30, by the time I used to finish everything at home and I used to travel or go to my workplace. Can I get up at 5:30? I That is going to give me that 1 hour for myself because nobody's expecting me to work at 5:30. But can I get my things sorted? Can I get my kids' things sorted? Can me and my husband work together to ensure that the house things are sorted? So in fact, it's a better way to deal with it because now you're also, mothers especially have to run from the office because they are as a mother, the kids are always in her mind. As a woman, the house is always in her mind. She has to go home, she has to cook or whatever. Now it's a beautiful what do I say, amalgamation of both the situations, and we have to use it to our benefit. We can't look at it as something which is negative. There are so many companies who have started work from home for the next 3 years, or let's say you can perpetually work from home, or they might have meetings, physical meetings or whatever. I think a lot of Western companies have already started doing that, because actually, in fact, on the other hand, some companies who do research have found out. I'm not talking about the first 3 4 months, okay? I'm talking about now, the present condition, where research suggests that productivity has actually gone up. And this productivity will only go up if there is a demarcation of my work and my personal life. And it's okay if I say I will start work at 9:30, but I will shut my computer at 6:37, whatever it is. After that, I am not available. It's not right from the management's perspective to expect work from you outside your working hours. Whatever it is has to be given to me in the working hours. Unless you're out on an agenda to prove that I am there, my productivity is high, and I'm always available for you, even if you throw work at me at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, not acceptable, right? So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
But I think that scenario happens even in the working hours also. There are a lot of employees, they want to showcase that they are working more.
Correct,
But see,
correct.
there are always we have that conflict happen between management and with the particular managers or their my next manager or my next reporting manager. Uh, yes, on the other hand, as an employee, everybody wants to give 100%. That is there. And as a designer or as a technical person, there are a lot of other responsibilities, as you correctly said. They have to think a lot, and then they have to put on the black and white on the screen or on the paper. But if there is such situation happen, there are a lot of things happen
Hmm.
during during maybe day or maybe continuously happening, and lot of things are happen, and then we get a burst on the floor also. There are a lot of scenarios where management or HR and we have a designer conflicts happen. So first of all, how to deal with this? That was my first part of question, and how the managers look at it, this, and what you suggest to avoid
Right,
such conflicts.
right, right. It's a very good question because conflicts happen all the time. And sometimes what happens is, how much ever I am trying to give, my manager is always going to be unhappy about the situation. It's extremely important. You said, right, in terms of KRAs. I need to know now whether I'm calling it a KRA, whether I'm calling it a KPI, whatever it is, whatever terms your company uses. It's extremely important that before I join a company, my work is defined to me. My work is explained to me. What are you exactly expecting from this profile? What is the detailed profile? And we have to be open enough to ask these questions right from the interview stage. It cannot happen, "Nee, nee, you join the company and we will see how work goes or how work comes along." That is a gray area, and you're creating a hole for you to fall into and then say, "Oh my god, I don't have any personal life left," right? So it's extremely important to set the expectations right both ways. This is for the manager also, this is for the person, that this is for the team member also. So have it in black and white, have it with you beforehand so that it doesn't go haywire. Now, having a KRA or a KPI in place doesn't serve the purpose. Now, what has happened is, in right now, in times right now, the managers have to be extremely creative and, in trying to see how productive I have been. Because, the biggest asset that a manager can use to the manager and, even as employees that we can use is trust. Companies right now are based on trust in this situation when we all are working from home. So that trust will only will only convert into something productive is when I have my processes set, when I have my systems set. Ask these questions: how do you track my performance? How do I make sure that my productivity is known to you? I might work for, let's say, 6 hours, but I might be extremely productive. I might work for 14 hours, but I might not be productive. So, very important that managers know how to translate your work into productivity. And how is he tracking this? It cannot be on, I mean, it can be on Excel sheets, but I'm just saying these questions have to be asked on how all these things are going to be tracked. And managers and leaders have the most important responsibility right now, because if they don't use this to the best of their abilities and learn from the insights that they're getting from this entire, what is my team's work getting translated into and how can I improve it without improving the working hours, that's not the solution. That's what a manager and leader has to really really take care of. Leaders, of course, and need to have to go one step above and ensure how am I getting, how am I creating that balance between this, my work, and mental well-being. Because if you see, the entire trend is anxiety levels have risen because first 3 4 months none of us knew how are we going to handle this situation. but the pressures were already there, right? We had to still deliver, companies had to still run, companies still had to make money. To make money, either I have to pay salaries. It could be the 100% salary, it could be a cut salary, but be sensitive towards each other. Bring in that compassion, bring in that human trait. Leaders have to have it, right? And try and see how am I maintaining that balance between the work getting delivered and my person being mentally well balanced. For people also, I would say, if you are facing any issues, you're facing high pressures, you're stressed out, these are not good signs. You have to ensure that you talk to your managers, to the leadership team, to the company. That trust has to be there, that safety, that I am well taken care of, has to be there between a company and its people. So I think that's what everybody needs to ensure from a company perspective, and from our perspective as well when we're working.
I think that was a great answer. And before we open floor for audience for some questions, I just ask one small
Sure.
question. You work with the design companies also, right? And you are hiring a lot of designers. You interview, I think, from freshers to managers for design. So can you give us, for audience, just as a professional, as a from management point of view also, the advice whenever they do a lot of things you have covered already, but with respect to our today's topic, for the consciousness,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
what you can advise to the to upcoming talent or maybe so, because see, there is lot of always this battle or this conflict between HR and the people with management is going to be, and this is I think never ending story.
Yeah, yeah.
Will go. I think every day we will see on this floor such
Yeah,
issues. So
correct, correct.
what you advise for our
Yeah,
young
yeah.
generations?
Yeah. So basically, see, it depends from company to company on where I'm applying. The first and foremost advice I would like to give the freshers, of course, we grow from our experiences. So as an experienced person, I probably am already asking those questions. But as a fresher, Tushar, I've seen that if somebody is joining a startup, the questions that get asked are, do you have a pantry? Will I get to eat? Do you provide snacks? Do you have bean bags? Do you have a pool table for me to play pool in my, I'm obviously talking about pre-COVID times. These were the questions. These were the sort of questions that were getting asked. Uh, Unfortunately, not just freshers, even the experienced people ask this. And it's important. I'm not saying it's not important, but ask the right questions when you're trying to join a company. What is the culture of the company? you know let's say for example, and how do you define a culture? The culture is basically, if it's a small startup, you obviously get to know when you're interacting either with the founder or either with the leadership team, right? Because then it's a very small team for you to understand. In bigger organizations, culture is basically a sum total of all the perceptions, assumptions, interactions inside their social circuit. So do your study right. First, understand what is the culture of the company, and if you align to that culture of the company. If I'm a very sensitive person by heart, and I'm a designer, let's say, and I'm very sensitive by heart, but I feel, if somebody says your design is really bad, because the design is very subjective. What you like is not something I like, and what I like is not something that you like. But how do you come on common grounds there? Now, you have to understand this, that it's okay for somebody to give you a not such a good review about your design. But then, what is it that you should be doing? You should understand, because finally, at the end of the day, you're working for a client. The client has his own perceptions about how he wants that app or whatever needs to be designed, right? So make sure there's a lot of interaction. You understand, ask the right questions, get the right inputs, ensure you're in alignment with, internally inside the company. Make your storyboards, ensure that you're giving all these bits and pieces, and keeping them well informed of how your entire product is coming along. Communication becomes very, very important. So my advice to people is, try communicating on the right questions, because the iterations might, of course, will be there, but the frequency of iterations will be lesser. If you don't understand, and if you're just trying to hear somebody, something that somebody is telling you and then trying to produce, not going to work. So be outgoing, be open. As designers, you cannot be an introvert. You have to ask questions, you have to understand what this other person needs from you. And of course, your own awareness that I talked about, right? What is my audience? What emotion am I capturing? What is the who the users are going to be? What needs to be the simplicity level for that? Do I know the latest tools that need to be? How quickly can I learn a tool? So what is so these are the right set of questions and to ask, and that's what I would really advise people who are getting into this. And yes, for the weak-hearted people, for sensitive designers, it's okay if somebody doesn't like your design, because no five people are going to come together and say, "Oh, I love it." Right? It's everybody's perspective. So don't get disheartened. You are there because you proved yourself in the interview. You are there. You went through the company interview and all the conversations, and you made it. So there is no self doubt. Don't get this self doubt at all. It's just the perception of that person who's trying to explain it to you. Now the way that is explained is something that depends from person to person and company to company.
Obviously. So that is
Yeah.
that part will be there as because work cultures, I think company are
Yes.
different. Okay.
Yeah.
I think uh, thanks for this is a very
Thank
fantastic
you.
topic and I think a lot of people, particularly from design background, they always have first thing I have seen always there is a fear to approach the management. That was the thing
Right.
because maybe obviously the team leaders and higher designation people have that they have control over their projects.
Yeah.
But I always concern about the people who as the freshers they see as a company and they think that is IT company or IT sector corporate culture. It is like what I'm facing today and what is I'm actually experiencing now. I think
Correct.
thanks today you cover a lot of good topics and even we
Yeah.
touch base
Yeah.
some of today's concern about COVID also. I know just I open floor. I think Priyanka can help us.
Sure.
Already some questions are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a question from Dayanand, and he wants to know that like there are multiple companies who have short time joining date, and they don't give a lot of time to interact and do research like you said. So he wants to know how to handle this situation and how do you do your research about the company.
Right. So honestly speaking, researching about the kind of job that you're going to get inside the company, and with that little time, see, we are all human at the end of the day. We are not robots, or we are not, machines, that kind of machines who are built. So let's say, for example, you are, you are basically trying to do the research for this company. It's okay. Ask as many questions as you need to. Put it down on a piece of paper. Sit with yourself. Focus on the task at hand. Write down all the questions that you will have. Gather it and ask the person. Either it could be the HR, it could be your manager, whoever is there in the interview, right? Beforehand. So you know. Now, whatever time you get in between to research, do it. If you don't get time, once you join, there is no hard and fast rule at all. It's not expected. It's a wrong expectation to have that you're productive from day one. You are not. You will take time to settle down in the company, and you will take time to know the culture of the company. You will take time to know the team around you, how it works, how does information flow to you, who is helpful, who is not helpful, who I have to sort of push to give me that information. It's a lot of other factors, right? So you can't do it from day one. That's I mean, there's no doubt in that. But do as much as you can, ask as many questions as you can, and like I said, communication is the key. You have to communicate. There is Why should one fear to ask questions? Why should you? If the company is expecting me to be productive as early as possible, then they have to be ready to answer all my questions beforehand.
Yeah, great answer. Do we have more questions? Actually, until people put up their questions, I also have a question for you. I like you said while talking that you need to be you can't be introvert in the field of design, and I am an introvert, and I have I have kind of worked on my I've tried to switch my thing when I am like personally I am a very very introvert person, but when it comes to work I've learned to talk to people. And as I'm training as well, I do get a lot of students who have similar problem. They are introvert and they don't want to, while researching, especially because I train them in research. You have to talk. So like, do you
Yeah.
have any suggestions on how to work on that thing, or like any techniques that you can give?
I'll tell you one thing why we are introverts. Sometimes this introvert, so as a human being, when I said human by design, as a human being, when we came into existence, we had communities. We actually thrive in communities. If we are left alone today, we will have mental issues. Why do you think there are anda cells where people are put into darkness and there is absolutely no daylight, nothing, right? People go crazy. So basically as humans we thrive when there is a community around us. Now how much we contribute to that or how much we like on an everyday basis, there are some people when which I call extrovert who might just go and business developers, right? Sales people, they cannot be introverts as well. They have to go out and interact with social, they have to be socially active. But as designers, when you say introvert, it should, you have to have, you need to understand, am I an introvert or is this self doubt creeping in? Correct. If my questions, I feel that I'm only pulling myself down. Do I ask this question? Do I not ask this question? Do you think this is the right question to ask? What if they feel I am not, it's a silly question to ask? Just ask. Because if you have to produce that kind of product, if that productivity has to be shown, nobody's doing charity, is what I've always said, right? If that's what we have to show, then how will I give it to them unless I understand them? If it's only a one way traffic, na Priyanka, that somebody is talking and I am listening and I'm just taking in and I'm making notes and I'm producing, will never work. Try and apply your mind. It's okay, you could be an introvert otherwise in your social life, but when it comes to your profile now, you have to be talkative. You have to ask so many questions that the other person says, there are too many questions, I'll answer it later, or I'll give you the answers on email, whatever it is. But take the right inputs so that you're able to deliver it in the right manner, and do not have the self doubt. Ironically, self doubt doesn't come from the self doubt is always created by the external environment for us, right? And like I said, it depends on the kind of situation that we were brought up in. It could be social, economical, religious, whatever, educational, right? Our teachers must have teachers must have shouted at us, you're a buddhu child, you don't understand anything. It might have stuck to me. Who knows what is coming? So, and that's why I said it's very important to know the pattern, my behavior pattern. I have to be aware of where it's coming from, and I need to work on it. If I know a certain pattern has come from, let's say, my parents, I have to understand that it's come from my parents. I have to work on it so it's gone, right? So be aware of your own self behavior. And when I say designers can't be introvert, this is what I really meant, that you have to have an open free flowing conversation with the person who's expecting that kind of output from you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think today was, I think it's a really good conversations today we have, and I'm happy that we try to, as we are today we are taking different topics in the design aspects. So earlier we have talked about multidisciplinary. Now, next topics are also very interesting topic for designs, obviously.
Yeah.
But I thought this aspect should also come to the in front of designers, because there is always a, because as I told earlier, when I was an employee, I was other side of a table. So definitely we
Right.
have that mindset regards to company and regards to management. But when tables are turned around, then definitely the things are changed. Then we talk
Right.
about ownerships, right? As a, I think,
Correct.
as a management, we always talk about ownership. But I think today we clear a lot of things. Hopefully, designer will get self confidence about themselves, what they are, and maybe see COVID situation will definitely will go away. We are hoping as soon as possible. Everybody, the scenarios work from home, that will and
Yeah.
because nowadays we are connecting through network, so I will not see bosses for very long period of time. So that is that is the situation we
Right.
have. Yes, great, Ketty, you are giving us time for design community, and hopefully they get. Obviously, there are a lot of questions maybe there, so I will request for audience also, if you have any questions, please send us to us, and we will communicate to Ketty, and if there is some,
Absolutely.
because I know there are a lot of areas where HR things, we talk confidentially. That may be scenarios
Right.
here also.
Right. Right.
I think
I'll be most happy to answer all the questions that
yeah,
come in
I think
because it's very close to my heart.
Shia, Nitin has one question.
Yeah.
Yes.
He wants to know freshers are always jumping from one to another company. And he wants to know how the owner would handle this situation, or how owner should handle this.
Owner meaning a business owner, you're saying? How
Yeah,
a company handles this situation?
yeah,
Well, honestly, when you see a lot of jumps on somebody's resume, um, it showcases that you are not able. See, as a freelancer, it's different. I'm talking from an employee perspective. um, if I find the work interesting enough, I'm talking about myself here, okay? In general. Now, if I find the work of the designer interesting, there is definitely a conversation that is going to take place. There are a lot of companies, especially the junior HRs, I would say, who will see, or I should mention that, who will see so many jumps. The more frequent jumps, your resumes are not even shortlisted. That's one of the mandate the company might give to the HR team, that if there are so many jumps, let's say for example, I have an experience of 3 years. In 3 years, I have changed 6 jobs. I'm not shortlisting that resume, for example, right? If the work still interests me, I am the kind of person who will still have a conversation with that person, and I will try to understand why were these jumps there. Every person is going to come with a different experience. If you're able to explain that jump, if you're going to tell me that no, every time I got 5,000 rupees more and that's why I jumped, sorry, you can't be there, because it's only for money, and money is important, very very important. But at the same time, what is the quality of work that you are also giving? If for 5,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees I'm going to jump twice a year for a company, I'm putting everything, so a company is putting all the efforts into you, to train you, to handhold you, to ensure that we are on the same page and I'm taking you to the next level as a company. But then if that's not the confidence I get from the other person, then obviously it's of no use to the from a company's perspective, because they know train hoga ye hoga, and then the person is leaving in 6 months time. So there's a lot of effort and wasting time for both, for the company also and for this person also, right? But if you have valid reasons for the jumps, I know the first company I started wasn't doing financially well, it had to shut down, so I had to look for a job. Second, that department shut down, whatever it is, see, these are valid things. So as long as as long as you are being true to your work, as long as you are being true to the answers that you're giving, and you are passionate about your work, and you can prove the jumps, that the jumps were valid, it's fine, it's okay. I mean, I am not the person who will let go of it just because there were so many jumps, if your work is the kind of work that the company expects from you as a person.
I have a couple of questions.
yeah. Shivangi wants to know, due to work pressure, we stop giving attention to our health and body.
Yes, yes.
So she wants to know how can we handle it in a better way.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing this up, Shivangi, because right now, like I said, there is a silver lining to everything, and we have to look at the positive side. If honestly we are able to demark ourselves that this is work, and outside this, I am going to spend time for myself. Like I said, mental well-being has been of utmost priority for everyone, because we are facing the situation as a collective consciousness for the first time, as humanity we're facing it for the first time. please make time for yourself. If you were getting up at 6:30, get up at 5:30. If you're getting off work at 6:30, ensure that you're letting your team know or the relevant people know that I am not available after 6:30 or 7. Go for a go for a walk, go cycling. If you have a swimming pool or a gym in your society, make time for that. But exercising and keeping yourself well exercised also very very important, extremely important, especially in times like this for such interviews. Of course, if you feel that the work is the work is really really good and you sort of align with that kind of work, then go ahead with that. But keep in mind that this is the experience that you had in the interview. You might have similar experiences later on with the company. Then that's an expectation you're already having when you're putting, setting foot inside that company.
Okay.
Great.
I think
Let's
we'll
take the
take
last question.
last question. Yeah. It's from Gauri, and I'm guessing she wants to ask it from the HR point of view, and she wants to know if sometimes, freshers pretend to be talkative, or they ask about a lot of questions, and they, pretend to be, I'm always ready to work. So how do you take this attitude?
Well, the first question I would like to ask Gauri is, why are you using the word pretend? Is it your perception, or is it something? I mean, I am guessing it's your perception, right? So just be open to the discussion. It's okay if freshers want to talk and they want to show I'm always there and available. Just take it with an open mind. You, any which ways, are going to mark them on the parameters that the company has set, or you might have your own sheet and you're checking a candidate on the soft skills. Technical, any which ways, the tech manager will check, but soft skills you're checking. You can make it, but I'm saying have an open conversation. Don't have a prejudiced mind about he's pretending, she's, then we're being judgmental, and nobody's given me the right to be judgmental about anything, right? Just have an open conversation, see if that person's profile fits into the into what the company requires. Make a differentiation between the person and the profile. A lot of times I have seen, especially people from the HR department, and I am a people's operations person. I also belong to that department. But I've made it a point to always tell my team, don't use the word reject. Reject is a very negative sounding word. Who are we to reject people, right? It's the profile we're talking about. This is the work, this is the profile. Okay, this is the company, this is the person, right? So see if that profile, that work profile matches with the work that you have. Okay, and if it doesn't, just say it's a misfit of the profile for whatever reasons it is. But I would always say that don't have a prejudiced mind, have open conversations. Don't sort of be judgmental about people. Just keep it very simple. There's so many people we come across as HR, so many people.